Yes, I mean, we knew she was going to declare. She was actually, though, on a plane to the G20 when the Prime Minister stepped down. So that's why it's been a bit delayed. But she's definitely regarded as one of the front runners, along with the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, who's made some of the early running, Rishi Sunak, and a number of others who probably are in the front of the pack. But it's possible that one of the sort of darker horse candidates emerges as we move into the elimination rounds, if you like.
How do they put forward their pitch, and how will Conservative MPs choose their new leader?
So we don't know the precise rules yet. Those will be set out later tonight UK time, so early morning for you, after the elections. The 1922 committee, which runs the Conservative Parliamentary Party, if you like, and then we'll have to meet to set the rules. We expect that they'll have possibly quite a high threshold for nominations, possibly quite a high threshold for how many votes you have to show that you get in the first round, because they're very keen to get it down to the final two candidates who get put to the membership by the time Parliament rises for the summer recess here, which is on the 21st of July.
What do you think will get the top candidates through? Will it be policy, charisma? What's your opinion?
I think one of the things will be policy stances. We're seeing a lot of pictures around tax cutting at the moment. It's a bit of a Dutch auction on who can offer to cut taxes the most. One would hope that it might also be a bit of personal integrity. A candidate who will not repeat the scandals of the Johnson era, that's something that applies. Experience may be a bit of a factor. And of course, one of the other things will be electoral appeal. But it'd be very interesting to see whether the party at all thinks about appeal beyond England. The Conservative Party is very much an English party these days. Do they look, particularly with the threat of another independence referendum in Scotland, problems in Northern Ireland, do they actually look at somebody who, in particular, might play a bit better in Scotland than Boris Johnson did?
A lot to mull over there. Whatever the timeline is, will the transition be quick enough? Politicians within and outside the party insist Boris Johnson should leave immediately.
Yeah, I think in a sense that ship sailed last week. If Boris Johnson was going to hand over to an acting Prime Minister, that would probably be one of the conditions that you would have applied when he finally on Thursday agreed to stand down. They didn't do that. So I think the really interesting question now is, how do we manage this, rather uncomfortable interregnum process? He's reconstructed his government, made quite a lot of new ministerial appointments, but he keeps on saying, I know the rule. I know I'm not supposed to make major new policy decisions. So will he stick to that? So it's interesting to see how this plays out. But I think they will try and have a new Prime Minister in place by the time MPs come back after the summer, so possibly in the first week of September.
What sort of legacy do you think Boris Johnson will leave in the UK and abroad when he eventually leaves?
Well, his legacy is going to be dominated by Brexit. Brexit is why he became Prime Minister in the first place, and he can take personal credit both for the Brexit referendum verdict. A lot of people think that it wouldn't have been a victory for Vote Leave without Boris Johnson deciding to back that side in the campaign, and then for finally getting a sort of Brexit over the line, a quite hard Brexit, but obviously with this running sore of the protocol on Northern Ireland. That, I think, affects his legacy abroad as well, particularly in Europe, where, people still think it was a bit of a mad decision by the UK, and maybe in some of our allies like the US. But the other bit of his legacy certainly will be his firm support for President Zelensky and Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. But, the other part of his legacy, I fear, is going to be a real debasement of standards in public life.
And what do the public make of all of the uncertainty right now? Is there a clear sense of frustration that they just want the government to get on with the job?
I think there are a lot of concerns, because loads of pressing issues in the UK. We've got a very significant cost of living crisis, the highest inflation rate, I think, in the G7. potentially the lowest growth in the G7. So we really do need somebody sort of, starting to sort out the economy, both short and long term. Clearly not much attention to that in the interim. But I think it's really interesting. There are quite a lot of voters who really think Boris Johnson should have been allowed to stay, but he really was losing huge amounts of public support over his behaviour, over the parties, over a series of successive scandals. So I think the real question now for the Conservatives, they want to be able to regain some of that support back, is do they find a credible candidate to replace him, and can they show that actually they can move on and have a competent government going forward in the year and a half potentially to the next election.
Well, we look forward to seeing how it plays out. Jill Rutter, as always, thank you.
Thank you.